Hello everyone, today I'm here to share with you all of the books I read in May. Get ready because it's a lot. So in total I read 16 books this month, which is just a lot. I think that might be the most I've ever read in an entire month here on BookTube. I don't know. But either way, it's a lot. Breaking it down further because I read 6 physical books that I have right here that I'm going to primarily be talking about in this video. And I read 10 ebooks. They're all ARCs, so yeah, I've been talking to you guys a lot. I have been really trying to step up my NetGalley game, which that is a site where you can get advanced copies of books. You can get approved or denied them. I've got approved of a lot recently because I've just been into NetGalley again because I have the time. And a lot of publishers are not sending out physical copies. They will much rather give you a NetGalley widget because it's easier and safer. So that's why I've been reading a ton of ebooks lately. And I think that will be the trend here for the next few months. Hopefully we can get back into the physical reading because goodness me, like 10 books for ebooks, that's a lot. Also, I have a Kindle now, like an actual Kindle device. So it's easier to read ebooks, so there's that. So, like I did last month, I'm going to do a whole separate video on just those NetGalley ARCs because they are all books that are not out yet. Well, most of them are. There's a couple that I've read that are already out, but that video will be coming up very, very soon, probably the next couple ones you see on this channel. So the books I'm going to talk about today are the 6 ones I physically read because I want to go into them and because, like I said, I want to do a NetGalley video. I will tell you really quickly the 10 ARCs I read that you can expect in the NetGalley video. Hopefully some of them. First up we have Island Affair by Priscilla Oviers. Did I already review that? My last one? Maybe. I gave that one 4 stars. Then we have Not Like the Movies by Carrie Winfrey. I gave that a 3. I have The Girl from Widow Hills. I gave that a 2. I think those 3 I have already talked about in my NetGalley video that came out this month, already in May. So just so you know, the other ones I don't believe I have. I have Not That Kind of Guy by Angie J. Christopher. I gave that a 2. You Lucky Dog by Julie London. I gave that a 4. Breathe in the Sky. I forget the author's name. Please forgive me. I gave that a 3. Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. This one comes out in September and I've already read it. I gave it a 3. Someone's Listening. Sarah, I forget the author's name. It was a thriller. I also gave that a 2. I have 90 Days to Elsewhere by Casey Dyer. I gave that a 4. And lastly, Paris is Always a Good Idea by Jen McKinley. I think that's it. I gave that a 4. So if any of those books sound really interesting to you, please note I'll be doing a NetGalley video where I talk about them all in depth. I just wanted to do that separately because they are all advanced copies of books. Anyway, let's get into the physical books I read. As always, starting from my least favorite, working up to my favorite. The first book I want to talk about is definitely my least favorite physical book of the month, and that is The Wife Who Knew Too Much by Michelle Campbell. This is an adult thriller book, and this is actually an ARC. It comes out in June, so it should be out this month for you guys. I'm really excited for this one because I've been reading a ton of thrillers this year, and not only that, but a ton of really good thrillers. So I was much anticipating this one, and sadly, I did not enjoy it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. It was just not that great. In fact, I would dare say it was kind of boring. So in this book, we follow a girl named, I forget her name already, Tabitha. Anyway, she fell in love when she was a teenager with this guy named Connor Ford, and it was kind of like a summer camp romance where he was very much rich and she was working there. They fell in love, then it just kind of fell apart. And then many years later, she sees that Connor has married this really rich woman that's actually a widow. And then the wife that Connor has is suddenly dead. Nobody knows how. And then suddenly Tabitha reconnects with Connor and they fall in love and they get married like that. Only everything's coming under scrutiny because of how the first Mrs. Ford died. And that's what the kind of book is about, The Wife Who Knew Too Much. Am I going to tell you anything more about it? No, because I just didn't think it was necessary. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm so hard on thrillers. I don't know why, because I'm still a novice very much in the genre, but I just didn't enjoy it. I was really bored throughout it when it came to the big twist. I didn't care. I didn't think any of the characters were super likable. I didn't understand why she fell in love with this Connor guy because he just seemed like a jerk through and through. So would I recommend you pick this up in June? Probably not, but that's just my personal opinion. You may like it. As always with any review I do, take them with a grain of salt. If this sounds intriguing to you, pick it up. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you won't. Either way, It's a thriller book, I do know that. On to my 3 stars. I have quite a few of those. I have The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgenthaler. This is a book all about Alaska. I was, again, very much anticipating this one, but it fell flat for me. But it was just, I don't want to say the word boring again. This is all about a character named, these are all about characters named Zoe and Graham. Zoe has saved up a lot of money to visit Alaska, specifically a place called Moose Springs, and she's wanted to go there her whole life, and she finally goes, and then she meets this guy named Graham who runs this restaurant called the Tourist Trap, and he really loathes tourists. But of course, as soon as he sees Zoe, it's immediate connection. He's like, oh, maybe this is an amazing tourist, and of course they fall in love. But the whole, like with every kind of rom-com book, there's always some big conflict, because that's just how a story goes usually. The big conflict in this one was that Zoe was a tourist and Graham was so opposed of tourists, and they always leave and they just don't do bad for their, and it's bad for their town. So that was the big like argument they had, was she's a tourist, he's not, he's a native, and just stuff like that. This also was very long. This was 400 pages, which I think is long for a chick lit for sure, but this was especially long because just nothing happened, I felt. I liked the characters. The romance was okay. That's all I have to say. The dog was the cutest part of this book because he was a blind dog and he was adorable, but there's just not much to it. Hey, if you love books about Alaska, maybe check it out. I wanted it to be more. Sadly, it wasn't. I promise not all the books I talk about today, I'll be harping on them. I'm sorry. Oh, of course I said that as soon as we have The Ballad of Song, Birds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I don't get much into this because I have a 22-minute video talking all about it. If you've heard about it, it's the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy following President Snow before he was a president, and he's a mentor in the 10th Hunger Games. Like I said, my video is all over the place, and it's very, very lengthy. In my video, I said I was debating between a 2 or 3. I think I'm just gonna go and make an executive decision and say 3, because ultimately, I do love this world, as messed up and twisted as it is. I would never want to be in it, that is for sure. But I'm excited that it woke up my love for Hunger Games again, I will say that. And it did have me intrigued, and I had a lot of feelings for it. So I gave it a 3. Do I think it's need to be written or not? You'll have to see my video for it, but I just didn't want it to be about Snow. Would have taken probably any other character but Snow. I would have even taken a Gale book, and I don't even like Gale that much. That's saying something. And my last 3 star is 4 Days of You and Me by Miranda Keelaney. This is a YA contemporary book. This follows the character Lulu, and basically this book is really formatted differently, where it always takes place every May 7th. Every May 7th at their school, because they have some like person that's graduated that gives them money to go on this elaborate field trip for every single grade on May 7th. So basically this whole book is Lulu and Alex who start up a friendship, and it really focuses on every single field trip they take on May 7th and how the relationship kind of ebbs and flows. First they hate each other, then they became boyfriend or girlfriend, then they broke up, maybe they're getting back together, and it just kind of goes on from there. We do have some other days spliced into there, but the format was just really odd. I don't think it needed to be written like that, where it was focusing on the field trip aspect. I did enjoy it, but I just don't think it was necessary, and to put the whole book around that field trip, I don't know. But I really enjoy Miranda Keelaney's writing. I like it. It's cute. That's all I have to say about it. It's not going to make you really think. It's not super in-depth and things like that. But bottom line, if you want a quick, fast summer read about a boy and girl falling in love and out of love and maybe in love again, this one's great for that. So there you go, 3 out of 5. At 4 stars is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA thriller book that my friend lent me, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. A couple of these books I was like, oh, it's disappointed. This one I was surprised by, so that makes me very happy, because I'm not the biggest fan of YA thrillers. I've read a few of them, and a lot of them I just don't enjoy. There's only been a couple that I've liked. Add this one to the list because I was there for it. So this book, we follow a character named Pippa, and Pippa is a senior at this school, and every senior has to do like this project or something, almost like a thesis, if you will, and she decides that she wants to really investigate, is that the right word? This murder that happened at her town and her like high school, like 5 years ago. It was about a girl named Andy who was murdered by her boyfriend Sal, and then Sal killed himself, but she's always thought that Sal really didn't kill Andy. So she wants to really open up the investigation again and find out what really happened. And that's exactly what she does. This book is really multimedia format because she has a whole list of like suspects that she'll cross names off of. She'll add to them. She has interview formats, and she has even maps of how the murder would have happened if he would have went down this street or this street. And I really enjoyed it. It was a fast-paced, fun novel. And I know she's made another book, I think almost a sequel or spin-off of this book that I really want to read, and it's out, but like I can't get my hands on it for some reason because Amazon is not selling it and no other place is really selling it. I don't know. But either way, I really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend it even if you like adult thrillers, because but I enjoyed it. 4 to 5, would really recommend. My favorite read of the entire month should come as no surprise, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is an adult rom-com, contemporary book, whatever you want to call it. I have a video talking about 5 reasons why you should read it, and I really loved it. This is about January, who is a romance writer. She's an author, and she's supposed to write her next book, but she's having really bad writer's block because her father just passed away, and she learned some stuff about her father that really blows her whole notion of romance into the air. And so she goes to this beach house, or this lake house, that her dad actually owned and he left to her. She discovers her neighbor is none other than Augustus, who she went to college with. They kind of had a rivalry. They never liked each other, and they struck up a friendship, and they do like a deal where he is also a writer, by the way, and he writes really hard-hitting books about cults and literary fiction. So they struck up a deal where he'll incorporate some romance, maybe a romantic ending, and she'll be a little bit more serious with her writing, and maybe it'll help them out with their kind of writing funks they're in. And of course, that's what the basis of the book is about, but it's much more than that. It goes into January's grief and what she's dealing with will involve her feelings towards her dad and her family that she never thought she would have, but she does, and I just loved it. On surface, this looks like a literal beach read because it is called that, but it is much more than that. It's definitely much more in depth. I definitely teared up in this book. I wasn't expecting to. I was expecting a light, fluffy time. Don't get me wrong, the romance is strong in this book. I ship Augustus and January hardcore. I love them together. The romance was there, but there's a lot more to this book than just the romance. There's a lot more feelings and in depth and sadness and grief, and just you deal with a lot of different things. So I love this book. I know it's getting a ton of hype here on BookTube. There's no surprise about that, but I will stand by it. I really loved it. Those are the 6 physical books I read. Be sure to stay tuned in a couple of videos. I sound like an announcer. Be sure to stay tuned in 30 minutes for, I don't know, but I will be having a video very soon about all of my NetGalley books I've read that I talked about in this video. So that one's gonna be pretty lengthy video because I think I'm talking about like 6 or 7 in them. Either way, I would love to hear if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts and feelings are on them, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.